Searching for the one perfect solution to stop procrastinating on your creative work is often just another form of procrastination. Give me the next few minutes and I'll show you why searching for the perfect solution to procrastination keeps so many people stuck and the deeper dynamic behind that pattern. I also have a bonus resource for you. Get the last laugh for brainy moves for when procrastination shows up. Drop last laugh below and I'll DM it to you. I'm Christine Karen, founder of Good Jelly. I work with people who care deeply about their creative work and I help them make progress that's not just reliable, but inevitable. Most people who are committed to their creative work at least occasionally experience procrastination. That's frustrating because it sucks not to make progress when we so deeply want to get our work out into the world. So, how do people try to get over procrastination? They try to make themselves get back to the work, plan to do it, reward themselves into doing it. Or they try accountability groups, and if none of that works, they may even try punishing themselves back into flow. In all cases, they keep chasing the thing, the solution that will solve their procrastination problem once and for all. But still, they procrastinate. Here's why. Based on what I've seen with my clients, 95% of the time, people don't actually have a procrastination problem. What they have is an extremely narrow definition of what counts as progress with creative work. The old school creative productivity paradigm convinces us that the only real work is the specific action that generates our specific creative output. So the only real work for a writer is writing, for a sketch artist, sketching, for a researcher, getting the experiments done. If that specific work is not constantly moving forward, ideally on a daily basis, that means you are procrastinating. We're trapped by that narrow definition. There's so much more involved in the creative process than just constant execution. And it's that narrow definition that leaves so many people misdiagnosing themselves as having a procrastination problem and then trying to force themselves into execution mode all the time. No wonder people tap out of the creative adventure. Incessant execution, even in theory, is exhausting. But here's what I want you to know. There is a way out, and it doesn't involve you forcing yourself harder. The antidote to both actual procrastination and the much more common misdiagnosed procrastination is to honor the progress you make in context of the full creative process instead of expecting incessant and overly effortful execution all the time. This is about expanding your playing field instead of keeping it unnecessarily small. Think of a baseball field and you're standing at home plate. Old school productivity forces you to have a really tiny playing field because it says any other work than execution is procrastination. So you have hardly anywhere to go because that perspective says so much of the work you actually have to do doesn't count, even though it's totally legit, valuable, and necessary work. That's not a very fun or engaging setup to play in. But once you refuse that perspective and you decide to say, wait a second, the creative process does involve more than just constant execution, that makes your playing field bigger because you are aligning with the reality of all the work involved. When you also decide, I'm going to get my work done in a way that is fun and in alignment with how I like to work, that gives you the entire playing field to play on because it's a lot less likely that you'll procrastinate when the way you get your creative work done is actually fun and enjoyable for you. Here's what happened with one of my clients. He had worked on a novel for many years before working with me, but every time he sat down to write, he couldn't get started. He'd spent the whole session hunting for previously written snippets scattered across all different places in his computer. He thought this was procrastination. I offered that perhaps all that searching was actually pointing to the most important work he had to do next. He took that suggestion and ran with it. First, he took a couple of weeks to methodically pull all those snippets into a smaller set of documents, one for each scene or chapter or character sketch. Legitimate creative process work. Then he switched from Word to Scrivener, a tool built to help with the non-linear rethinking he was doing with that novel. And he took time to really learn how to use Scrivener so he could have fun with it instead of fighting with the technology. Old school productivity would have called all that work procrastination. I call it real work, and work that actually facilitates faster execution. And once he did all that real work, that is exactly what happened. He started making progress on his revision every single time he sat down to write. No more procrastination. Once you give yourself a bigger playing field, you'll be able to see how much progress you actually are making. Bunts, walks, singles, doubles, triples, and even homers. You will have knocked procrastination right out of the park. It's the kind of shift that not only makes progress reliable, but inevitable. And remember, if you want even more ways to get the last laugh with procrastination, drop last laugh below and I will send those 4 brainy moves you can make when procrastination drops by.